welcome to the Indie Author Showcase. I'm Chad Robert Morgan.
And I'm Alexander Robert Morgan, the better one.
Your middle name's not Robert. I keep telling you.
I am going with the bit we made last episode. Get with the program, buddy.
Your middle name is Scott.
We are not going over the same exact bit, dude. I did the bit because I said Robert because it fit the bit last time that we did last time. We're not using the same exact bit. Don't you think we already go over each other exactly the same what we said last time enough on this show?
So viewers, watch last week's episode to understand what the hell we're talking about.
Now!
Just pause the video, go back a week, watch the bit. It's not really very funny, but that's okay. You watch it, you'll understand.
Yeah, it's not really that funny, but I mean, no. I can pretend.
Yeah.
I can pretend I'm funny.
So, anywho. So, not much is going on right now. We've just been preparing. We do have one thing we can talk about is we went to, what was it called? The Wicked Fest?
Wicked Fest in Yucaipa.
That was interesting.
It was in Yucaipa.
Yes. Now, I don't. First of all, here's the pros. It was pretty busy. It was well received.
It was right? By busy we mean it was busy for Yucaipa.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was. I wouldn't say it was densely populated. Now, it was a very small thing, right?
Yes, it was. If you put one person on a pebble, then you could call that densely populated.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was probably what, maybe a dozen vendors, dozen and a half, maybe.
Yeah, one of them sold me these really cool rings. Go check them out. I don't know what they are, but they were really cool.
Oh, that was Black Spot Productions. We've talked to them a couple times.
They sold me awesome rings I'm not wearing right now because it's 9 p.m.
We actually met them at Creep It Real OC, and they will be at Creep IE as well.
So go there if you love awesome rings.
So, well, my lap desk is by them. So
the lap desk the viewers have definitely seen.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a nice little Haunted Mansion Ouija board type lap desk. It's really cool. So, anyway, really cool people. Highly recommend their stuff. Check them out if you are at Creep It Real OC Nostalgia, or if you are at Creep IE. So, I won't be able to see them at Creep It Real OC Nostalgia because that's the same weekend as HorrorCon. So hopefully, if you see them at that weekend, hopefully you'll still hop over to Los Angeles.
That guy, but it seems like HorrorCon is a lot more of a smaller thing than the other one.
Well,
wait, before you speak blasphemy, I want you to know, the worse we talk about HorrorCon, the less money we get.
I was going to say HorrorCon is a newer convention. I believe this is only the third year they've done it.
That's a nice way of putting it.
But they're going to have a lot more cooler celebrity guests this year. They already have Michael Biehn, which for guys like me who grew up in the 80s, Michael Biehn is known for The Terminator.
The Terminator.
For The Abyss.
The Abyss.
And for Aliens.
The people who have entered the country illegally.
No. It's Sigourney Weaver, facehugger, you know.
Oh, I see.
In fact,
people who have entered the country illegally.
No.
I'm joking on that one. Please don't cancel me.
In fact, for those that are like checking out like Alien Romulus, then you know.
Oh, like the new movie.
Except the good one. So
I hope the new one is going to be good.
I heard the new one is okay. Like it's way better than like Prometheus.
All the other ones.
Well, no, the first one was excellent.
No,
the second one is even better.
I meant like the new ones. I hope it's better than all the new ones. Yeah.
Prometheus and what was after Prometheus? I forget the name of the one after Prometheus. But anyway, I heard it's better than the last two, but not quite as good as the originals.
Yahoo!
So, anyway, but yeah, a fan of Aliens. Michael Biehn was Hicks, which was one of the
Hicks.
few people that survived to the end of Aliens.
Survive to the end.
Do you really gotta echo everything I say?
It's fun. It's a nice, calming, relaxing activity. Have you tried it?
Is this an ASMR kind of thing, or?
No, it was an ASMR. I'd be like grabbing like bottles and like I'd be doing like that. That was a wonderful auditory experience, wasn't it? having a grown man and a child go into the mic wasn't that great? Didn't that feel good?
So who else is going to be at HorrorCon? Getting back on topic. What was his name? Something Fleischer. He it was the voice of Roger Rabbit.
Oh, what's he doing at a whole convention?
Well,
I saw it. Roger Rabbit was pretty scary.
Well, on top of that, he also had a small part in the original Nightmare on Elm Street and a few other roles. So, but I believe his biggest role was the voice of Roger Rabbit. I think that was his biggest role to date, to the best of my knowledge. But he did have a couple of small roles in horror movies, including he was the doctor in the original Nightmare on Elm Street when Nancy was going through sleep therapy where they were trying to figure out what was wrong with her. And he was going through the whole bit about, oh, we're still trying to figure out what dreams are and everything like that. And then Nancy has the nightmare. She wakes up and he has Freddy's fedora. That part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
That I believe was him, if I'm correct. So, and there's going to be other celebrities there. Those are the two big ones that I know of. There's a handful. I believe there is one of the actresses from one of the Friday the 13th movies is going to be there.
Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, it's like I said, echoing you is very well, not echoing you in particular. Echoing you is a lot less therapeutic than echoing other people. It is very therapeutic. Echoing you is a lot less therapeutic. That one's more like it's like echoing normal people is like really nice and fun, and then echoing you is like putting your skin against a cheese grater. You know what I mean? You do it because it's awesome.
Yeah, you wouldn't say that if you had seen Evil Dead Rise. Anyway, getting back to Wicked Fest. So it was a nice festival. We went out there to check it out because we're always looking out for another con to do, another festival to promote our stuff. There was one in San Jose we meant to go out to, but that was a bit of a trip. I was looking to see if we had friends in the Bay Area that could go for us and report back to us, because I'm always looking for places where I can pitch our sci-fi books, because we're finding a lot of horror conventions, but we're not finding a lot of places where we can sell our other franchise, which is Intergalactic Space Force. We do sometimes do Comic-Con, we do WonderCon, but we don't take that stuff to the horror conventions because it's not horror. It's science fiction, it's comedy, it's not a good fit. So there was a San Jose type Comic-Con. I wanted to go up and check it out, but that's come and gone. So I missed that one. So we went out to this one in Yucaipa, and it was a nice little thing, but I think we're going to pass on it because it was an outdoor event.
It was an outdoor event.
In Yucaipa. In August.
It's like 100 degrees out there.
104, I believe, is what it was.
Joyous.
So, yeah, Yucaipa is what is it, about 40 minutes away from Indio? I mean, we're hitting California low desert by that point in time.
We are an hour and a half away.
So, yeah, I mean, people were melting. It was, I don't know whose idea it was to have an outdoor event in the desert in August.
In Yucaipa.
I
think they just wanted literally anything to be in Yucaipa. Come on. Can we both agree?
Well, an outdoor event in Yucaipa is not necessarily a bad thing in November or February.
Or December.
Like it's fine to do it then. August,
And if there was
not
anything else to do.
an outdoor event in August at night is not a bad idea in Yucaipa. 1 o'clock in the afternoon when it's 104, maybe not so much.
Better idea. Make there to be stuff to do in Yucaipa other than horse riding.
So, well, I mean, Yucaipa's a nice town. There's nothing over
It's
here.
very homey.
So-
That's where the nice things end.
It's a nice town, but yeah, I don't know if I want to go out there melt in 104-degree heat.
Well, speak for yourself. That sounds like a lovely way to spend an afternoon.
You're the one that wanted to pass.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I'm not putting myself through all that.
Hmm.
Not at all. Not one bit. Not one scallywagging, non-dagging, spooking, smacking bit. I was hoping if I spoke loud enough, I could dry them out.
Yes, we are being tormented by the hellhound.
I have an idea. Open those choppers.
And this is why we have a Patreon. Please sign up to our Patreon at podbean.patreon.com/indieauthorshowcase. $1 a month, and we give you a shout out here on the podcast as a patron. $5 a month. $5 a month, you get a shout out. Plus, you get the Indie Author Showcase t-shirt. Your support would help us get a professional dog-free studio.
And this was totally planned. We planned for the dog to come up here and interrupt us so we could plug our Patreon. You think I'm gonna throw it? He's waiting in such anticipation. Look at him. Oh, he's coming. Oh.
That's right. You support us on the Patreon. That will allow us to have professional video equipment, professional audio equipment. We can rent a small space where we can have a squeaky toy free environment to record our podcast.
Can we bomb the squeaky toy?
Can we pull the squeaker out of the squeaky toy?
Well, then he wouldn't like it. Then he wouldn't like the... I think then he wouldn't like the squeaky toy if there wasn't a squeaky in it.
Well, before Denim ruins the podcast any further...
He would never. He's such a polite and good boy.
He's ruining it already.
No, he isn't. He's so polite. Look at his little munchkin. Look at this. Oh, he's biting me. Could he not?
We're trying to do a professional setup.
We are trying to, but this sorry little munchkin man, otherwise known as Funny Canine, is...
Also remember, if you don't want to sign up for the Patreon, you can also support us by going to our website at shopspectralink.com. You can buy our Indie Author Showcase merchandise, such as t-shirts, tote bags, coffee mugs. You can also buy any of our Spectral Link production merchandise, such as t-shirts, bath towels, or beach towels.
Like I said, baby, cereal.
We don't have Baby Eater cereal. No.
Baby, punching bag.
Don't have the Baby Eater punching
You
bag.
punch a man in the gut.
But you can get a Baby Eater of your very own. We do have our 3D prints, both the small ones that glow in the dark and the big.
But can you punch them?
You can't, well, I suppose you could if you wanted to break them. But yes, if you go out there and you can order our books directly from us, or you can go to any one of our affiliate links, such as Amazon and Barnes & Noble or Audible, where you can get our books. You can buy any of our products. Any of that will help support Spectral Link Productions or the podcast, and that will help us get a dog-free studio.
You bit me in places I wish not to be bit. Now, we shall host an intermission to get the dog out of the area. Un momento, por favor. Returning back from our intermission, the dog has not been removed, but instead it has been subdued.
For now.
He's just down there. He's just chilling.
For now.
For now.
So,
Book review time.
yeah, before he changes his mind.
Yeah. We have 2 comics today. We have Mortal Vibes from the Monster Dimension. It's about as subtle as it says. And bing ding ding ding. We also have Shwadalada, a second one from the same people. Wingo Loco. Killing him was their first mistake.
Yep. So let's start with the first one. So this is a full graphic novel here. And met them over at Midsummer Scream, and we mentioned the podcast and said, hey, if we like their stuff, we'll mention them on the podcast. And then sure, I said, hey, we'll throw in a first issue of our other storyline for you here for free. I was like, great. And we read them all. And obviously, we like their stuff. Otherwise, we wouldn't have it on the podcast. So they're 2 completely different storylines. The Murder Vibes from the Monster Dimension is a kind of 60s era, very kind of hippie feminist kind of thing where you get a bunch of people fighting monsters. And the Gringo Loco is about a guy who is sentenced to be hung to death, only the guy is apparently already dead. So he's just sort of hanging there. And he's like, you got to smoke? Because I'm bored, right? And then some bad guys come into town, and he decides that he's going to deal with the bad guys, and they start shooting up the place, but since he's already dead, doesn't bother him much. They cause some problems, shoot up the sheriff, kill a couple other people, and he decides that he's going to go out for justice, and that's where that one episode ends. So real quickly, what did you think about each of these storylines?
Can we just get the obvious out of the way and say that the art is pretty good, like really good? The art is good. Let's just get that out of the way. Just the obvious thing.
Okay. Yeah, no, the art is exceptional. So in terms of storyline, I did like the Gringo Loco better.
Oh, yeah.
The Murder Vibes from the Monster Dimension, I did appreciate for sort of like the grindhouse type feel.
Can we just abbreviate that to MVMD? Dude, Immortal Vibes from the Monster Dimension is a little bit of a tongue twister. Let's just call it MVMD.
Now, MVMD was chock full of sex, drugs, nudity, gory violence, which I didn't particularly mind. Now, just to put it out there, I'm as anti-drug as you can get. We've already discussed on the show that I had a cousin who had an OD, and he checked himself out of rehab when his mother died. It was laced with fentanyl, and he overdosed. We also have a family history of alcoholism, so I am very anti-drug. With that said, the thing does take place in the 60s. Drug culture was a big part of the thing. So I didn't particularly care for the drug culture references in the book, but again, being part of the 60s, it wasn't that much of a distraction to me. I just sort of took it as part of the time period of the piece, right? It is kind of very pro-feminist, but it's kind of written. It's like pro-feminist from written by a bunch of men's interpretation of pro-feminists.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like a very kind of
Porny.
Oh yeah, very porny.
Porny.
Yeah, it's a male's fantasy interpretation of pro-feminists, which is probably not a really good interpretation of pro-feminist. Um, yeah, so and A for effort, A for trying. Um, but the reason I dug it is it harkened back to the days of heavy metal, which probably doesn't mean much to you.
Which would be correct.
Yeah. So keep in mind, as a kid growing up in the 80s, comic books were just starting to get dark again, right? Before the 80s, comic books were still very they had the comic book code, right? You really couldn't have violent deaths, you couldn't have blood, you couldn't have all these things. Um, in the 50s, there was a lot of blowback to comic books. They were the latest thing that was corrupting the youth. They were the tools of the devil. Um, so then we came up with the golden age of comic books, where they started the comic book code, and that's when they started to self-regulate. And that's when you get your like your classic Super Friends cartoon, right? Where you're if you've ever seen the old Super Friends cartoons where like, golly gee, Batman, that kind of thing. Um, where the villains never kill the bad guys, right? And, like Green Lantern has this power ring and Sinestro has this power ring that can decimate an entire city, but nobody decides to use it to kill anybody, right? And then we get up to the 80s, and then we have Tim Burton's Batman. Now, the original Batman before all this comic book stuff, before the Golden Age, was a very dark Batman, right? And Tim Burton's Batman was harkening back to that original darkness. And I don't know if that started the movement or if that was inspired by the movement. I'm not sure which came first, but this is when comics started going back to being more gritty and realistic.
Gritty, evil, serious. To the point where we now have the edgiest of stories written to piss off. I'm talking about the original boys comics. Those are not good.
But my point being is that before that, right? I mean, this was when it was just starting, right? So comics were still very, at best, PG-13, right? So if you wanted something very mature, something that was gritty, because keep in mind, this was somewhere around the time when they had the storyline of like Tony Stark dealing with alcoholism, and that was controversial because that violated the comics code because he was dealing with substance abuse, right? Even though it was alcohol, right? And even though it was dealing with it in a realistic, mature manner, and he was dealing with his substance abuse and getting help and all that kind of stuff. So it was still kind of treated positively in the sense that it showed the negative effects of it, and he got help and he got better, right? But that was still very controversial for the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to get anything dark and gritty or anything past this kind of what was considered kiddie stuff, you had to go something more independent or something like that. And the main outlet for anything like that was heavy metal. Heavy metal was everything that DC and Marvel was not. You had violence, you had monsters, you had sex, you had nudity.
Sex!
Oh, you name it.
Have you seen the video of the guy running down the hallway yelling sex? Love that guy.
No.
Dude, he's going like call speed. I'm not sure how he... Sex! Sex!
You had stories that were serialized that would actually take place over multiple issues. You had mature storylines dealing with political intrigue or deep emotional problems or dealing with illicit substances or stuff like that. And heavy metal's published to this day, right? You can still find copies of it.
It's just a little less popular.
Yeah, well, because back in the 80s and before the 80s, that gap was much wider. Okay? Nowadays in comic books, look at what we have in DC, where we have or Marvel, where you have Marvel zombies, where you have the heroes ripped in half and eating their teammates.
Spider-Man rips off his own skin.
That happened.
Yep, that did happen.
That
Yeah,
happened.
I know.
Happened in one issue.
Spider-Man uses his veins and arteries to swing around.
Yep. Yeah. Because his web shooters were dry, so he starts and veins come out. He starts using the veins and arteries. He eats Aunt May and Mary Jane. So
whoops.
Yeah. DC Universe, the Batman Who Laughs, or the Joker in an alternate universe, the Joker gets the Joker toxin into Batman, so the Batman becomes the Joker. So it's the you have the mind of the Batman, the intellect of the Batman with the insanity of the Joker, and he kills in his universe the entire Justice League, starting with his own family. And he starts with the family because he knows that those would be the first people to try to help him.
And then they put him in Fortnite.
Yeah. Okay.
Why is he in Fortnite? I think he's in Fortnite. Can I double check that real quick? Mm-hmm. Hold up. We need any pause. Quick Fortnite intermission.
Okay, he's in Fortnite. Okay. My point being is the gap between mainstream comics and
Fortnite
and mainstream comics and the extreme comics of like heavy metal, that gap has narrowed. I mean, you still don't have, sex and nudity, but
sometimes.
But I mean, the term fridging somebody came from DC Comics.
I would like to mention that. You ever see that one Batman comic where like this where the Joker is teamed up with this woman and the woman is shirtless and braless and has a swastika on her?
I missed that one.
Oh yeah, I know. I watched a Hugbee's video on it. That's all. All I know is that Batman calls Robin slurs, and that's awesome.
But you do know what the term.
I'm being funny when I say it's awesome. It's not actually a good thing that Batman's slinging slurs. It's not a good thing. Would I just like to mention that I'm trying to be funny when I say it's awesome. It's not.
Okay, but do you know what I mean when I say the term fridging somebody?
Yes.
Okay. For those that don't know. There was a comic where one of the Green Lanterns, because there's been like 12 of them or whatever, they had a character that was Kyle Rayner's girlfriend. Kyle Rayner was the Green Lantern. And she was basically introduced just so the bad guy can kill her to motivate Kyle Rayner to go do superhero shit. And he discovers that she was killed by the bad guy because he opens up his fridge and her dismembered corpse was in the fridge. Hence the term, she was fridged.
She was fridged.
And that became synonymous with somebody who was basically a two-dimensional character that was killed merely to motivate the character to go do something, right?
Okay.
So the point being is that gap between mainstream and heavy metal narrowed. So heavy metal doesn't have the same relevance as it did in my day, right?
Right.
Because you're getting a lot of those mature storylines in your mainstream comics these days that you weren't getting in my day. So, that niche is being filled these days.
Yep.
Right.
I say as this tangent has gone on for almost 10 minutes.
Yes. Okay. My point being, though, is that this reminds me of those days when you still needed something like heavy metal to get all the all the stuff that you couldn't get in DC and Marvel. Your sex, your violence, your drugs, your people being ripped in half, um, people being chopped in half, people fucking. You couldn't get any of that in your mainstream.
To summarize in less than 10 minutes, the art is excellent. We can both agree on that. The story in Gringo Loco, even though it is way shorter, is in fact better.
Well, again,
in all opinion.
Yes. Well, again, Gringo Loco is one issue, whereas the other one is a full graphic novel, which is multiple issues. So.
And another way we can put it is not my cup of tea, his cup of tea, because it reminds him of the good old days.
Yes, because I'm an old bastard.
Yes. So yeah, that's how I said it in less than 10 minutes there, Father. It's not that hard to keep it sweet and concise. I'm just saying, you go on a topic and you just start speaking and you just don't stop. You just you start speaking and then
That's what editing is for.
You didn't stop a single time.
That's what editing is for.
You just kept on going and going and going and going and going and going.
That's what editing is for. Anyway. Now, if only I had somebody who would edit this shit instead of half-assing it and just hitting the done button. Well, if he's sleeping, I guess I can keep talking about shit then, instead of wrapping this thing up.
I'm awake.
So where can they find us?
You can find us at shopspectralink.com.
And where are our next appearances at?
HorrorCon.
HorrorCon on the 14th and 15th.
Creepy Aftermath.
Which will be, let's see, the 21st, and the 22nd. Also, if you use promo code SPECTRAL, you can get 20% off of your admission to Creep.ie. That's good for a single day or 3-day pass.
And we also know the Son of Monsterpalooza.
Son of Monsterpalooza. By the way, guess who was just announced for Son of Monsterpalooza? Natasha Henstridge.
Yes, I love her. She's my favorite actor of all time.
You don't know who she is, do you?
I do, and I'm not just saying that so you don't go on a 2-minute tangent about who this is.
Natasha Henstridge from the Species series.
Oh, cool.
Yes. And that one episode of South Park.
You're so close to just keeping it short and concise, won't you?
It was one episode of South Park.
You just don't know how to, do you? We are going to end now.
Do you remember that one episode of South Park? Let's talk about that for 30 minutes.